Hello, everybody. I got a couple of things I need to bring up. Let's see what we got. Got the disclaimer. So I'm going to open that up. So that's the beginning of all our meetings. We got a couple minutes before we start. So I'll leave this up here for a minute and I will be right back. Hello. Whoop. Hey, that's the alarm telling me I'm supposed to be here. Um, and I am, yay. You gotta bear with me this week, folks. My allergies are kicking in. That's the joys of living in the southeast US. Okay, so we'll get rid of this and get back to just me. As long as everybody's had a chance to look at it. And now we're just back to me. I haven't seen anybody jump in yet. That's okay. I gonna start this off with an experience that I've had come up this past month in an apartment complex that I kind of work with out here where I live. They had a tenant pass away, and which is unfortunate, but wasn't totally unexpected. And they had a little trouble getting hold of the emergency contact people because that wasn't updated. And so that's what I want to talk about for a little bit today is the things that I believe and have always recommended and done, the annual updates on the tenant information. And there's a lot of ways you can do it, depending on how many properties you have and how you communicate with your tenants. I found a good way to do it is to just create a form, and you can do that in Google Docs. There's plenty of videos on how to do a simple form, and then email it to all your tenants. And you can, I believe, still get a delivery receipt on that. And just ask them to either confirm that everybody that they have for an emergency contact and their contact information is correct, or to update the form and send it back to you. And then at some point in time, you need to probably verify that information once you get it back And you may or may not want to do that depending on the type of property that you're running. When I ran senior housing subsidized properties, I always did those, and I'd only do it like do 2 or 3 a week. Just make a phone call and confirm that the person that they used as their emergency contact knew they were the emergency contact and that they were fine with it. And kind of introduce myself as I'm running the property, this is who I am, this is what I do. So I will be the one reaching out to you, or a member of my staff will be reaching out to you should there be a reason for us to contact you. Couldn't really discuss the tenants, the rents, any of that stuff with them without written permission from the tenant. So make sure you don't fall into that trap. And also I'd use that reaching out to contact, because I'd have what we call the tickler file. If people in like had a 17-year-old that was turning 18, going to be in the property, I would want to get them on the rental agreement. So I'd have a tickler for the birthday parties, birthday dates, and it would give me the age. Adding an 18-year-old to a rental agreement, some people will fight you on it, some people won't. And it depends on your personal policies or your company's policies and what's allowed in your state for doing that. But I have experienced a few times in my career where parents will rent a property, hang out there for a little while, and then as soon as their kids are 18, the parents go back home, disappear, do whatever, and they leave these kids in a property that the parents are responsible for. The kids aren't on the lease, and the kids are unsupervised and tearing the place up, and you really got a whole pain in the butt recourse for trying to get the kids out. Because they're 18, they're not really abandoned by anybody, but they're not on your rental agreement, which makes it hard to evict them and get them served. Because it can just turn into a big can of worms if the parents are just tired of dealing with the kid, and so they dump them off on you. And that tends to happen more often in college communities. Excuse me. Part of my allergy stuff is my throat dries out a lot. So that's something you might want to consider putting in a tickler file to work on. Let's see, what other things popped up? Oh yeah, you got a disposal of the assets, and how to deal with the security deposit stuff and leases. If you're in a lease with a person who passes away, you kind of have some leeway with how you the lease that you use and where you're located. This is why in one of my other early videos, I think in January, in one of the Zoom meetings, we talked about your teams and what you need in them. One of them was a good real estate tenant attorney, one that deals with evictions and stuff, who's reviewed your rental agreement and approved it for your location. The emergency contact person may just be an emergency contact person that lives close, but not the person your relative wants, or the person that passed away wants going through all their possessions. So you need to kind of get that clarified. And then obviously they deceased, so you can't rent to dead people as far as I know anywhere. How are you going to deal with the security deposit? Who gets it? That needs to be defined. And how much rent you're going to charge, you need to figure that out for yourself. On a manager owner side, I always gave them 30 days. If they died in the middle of the month, they had till the middle of next month. Yeah, I may lose a few days rent, but hey, it's the price of doing business, and it's a decent thing to do in my personal opinion. So maybe you need to define that where you are in your rental agreement, because your state or county or city or housing authority may want specific verbiage in there and may want that defined a specific way. And you need to do that. Make sure that the lease and stuff is approved so you can do that. The other thing I'm working on that could help you with that is I think I've got a deal worked out with a company that you can get some, I think you get 2 documents, probably a lease. And then in the community, we've got the tenant handbook, and I think move in, move out inspection forms, or whatever you guys ask for that's in there. I think there's like 12 or 13 things in there now that are informational stuff. So when you join the community, you can just get access to that for free. Run them by your people in your team. So let's see, that popped up. Unit inspections, I've got a couple different thoughts on that. Minimally, you want to do it twice a year. I tend to structure it around when the clocks change, when the time change. And if you live somewhere where the time doesn't change, just pay attention to where it changes everywhere else. Replace batteries and smoke detectors, check them, check for leaks yourself. If you're not local, budget for having either a maintenance person or a basic home inspector go through it on every 6 months, I guess it would be, when the times change, or however that works. And they don't need to do like a full major inspection, just a good minimal inspection. Check leaks, check the roof, check foundation problems, check how the tenants are treating the property, if there's any trash infestations of pests, rodents, whatever. Get those done and budget for that as an expense in your business. I've always recommended, and I still recommend, that when you structure your rents, no matter which one of the 2 methods you're using for structuring your rent, you budget, depending on the type of property, number of properties and all of that, but you budget reserve replacement funds and maintenance funds, and those go into a savings account. The bigger the property, the better deal you can get on like a market rate account, because those aren't funds you're typically going to pull out every month. They're not monthly repair cost. They're for roofs or major upgrades to the property, HVAC units, those kind of things that get depreciated over time, and you put in new ones. That's where the funding comes for those, out of the reserve replacement funds. But you can take a couple hundred out of your reserve replacement funds to get a building, home inspection done. Or a handyman. You email them a sheet and make sure they got a cell phone and make sure the tenants are around. And they go in and take pictures under all the cabinets to see if anything's leaking, make sure the hot water heater isn't leaking. Go around, look at the foundation, look at the windows, make sure they're not cracked. You can kind of give them a move-in inspection sheet, a blank one, and just keep it as a record of the inspections you do every couple months, and maybe the guy charges you 50, 75 bucks for an hour's worth of walking the property and checking things out. That's also something you can refer over to your insurance agent and see if they can give you some sort of a discount or possibly not bang up a premium on you annually. I don't know how much control agents have over that, but at least it shows that you're proactively maintaining your property and taking the business serious. And check with your CPAs to see if that's a deductible business expense. I think it should be, but the IRS and I don't always agree on what should and shouldn't be deductible business expenses. Maybe someday that'll change, but I'm not going to hold my breath. Let's see what else has popped up. Not much else this past month or so. Let's see. Also looking into some of the, I've seen some ads around for nationwide maintenance service contract things. And I'm looking into some of those to see if they're actually worthwhile or if it's something we're going to be paying $20 a month and use it like 3 times a year, and they're going to turn around and still charge you $80 to go out there and do something or whatever the market bears in your neighborhood, so that you pay $240 for the privilege of being able to call somebody. I mean, you could do a pretty nice bonus for your maintenance handyman person if you were setting aside that kind of money. You could send them a $50 debit card, like 3 times a year, just as a thank you, and you still come out ahead and build a good relationship with people. Oh, the other thing is, sure you go out and hit some of the home shows that are starting to pop up. It's that time of year again. It's a good place to find some contractors that might be interested in working out a deal with you to be your designated person for maintenance stuff, landscape companies. And always, something I learned a while ago, I always annually review all my insurance policies and go shopping around to see if I can find a better rate. It's just it's a business expense, and depending on what has happened claim wise with an insurance company that year, they may be just across the board raising everybody 15, 20, 25%, whereas one of their competitors didn't take as many hits, or maybe they restructured and their overhead isn't so bad and their dividends are better for their investors. They're not raising their rates, they're staying put. Go shopping, see if you can find a better deal. Definitely let your agent, broker know, hey, every year I shop things around because this is a business and it's a business expense, and it's my job to control the expenses so I can guarantee myself some profit. So anything you can do or anything you can tell me to help me hold down my insurance cost, I want you to do it. I like working with you, but I just want you to know up front, in all honesty, every year I'm going to be searching for the best premium for the same coverage that I can get. Now, insurance, property taxes, all that stuff, you have very little control over other than trying to shop for a better rate. So you also want to look into how you can structure rent increases and With rent increases, I found that most people will not get motivated to move if the rent increase is between $30 and $50 a month, unless their financial situation has drastically changed. They're really not going to go to the expense of moving. And let's say if it's $30 a month, that's another $360 a year that you have to cover expenses if your insurance went up, if your property assessment went up, if the utility services that you got to pay went up. And I don't hide that from tenants, especially on multifamily properties. I just flat out show them, hey, we paid this much a year last year, and now they're charging us this much a year this year. And you're the people that live here that make the garbage, so we got to raise your rents to cover this expense. Which means you could have a small rent increase on a large property. If you've got 100 units and you do the math, your rate went up like, say, $100 a month, and you can come around and tell everybody, hey, it's a $5 rent increase. $5 a person. Here's what we're covering. They're going to be unhappy. Nobody's happy about the cost of living going up, but they're not probably going to swell up, get mad, and move or trash the place. They're just going to look at it and go, yeah, everything's getting expensive. Well, at least it's not $500 a month. What the hell? It's all in how you present it to people and deal with the expectations. And that is basically the bottom line in property management, is how to handle expectations and make sure that you address all the problems that you can think of before they happen. Thank you. Another thing I'm working on, I think everybody will like this. This has been fun to work on. Been working on it with my partner, Patrick. We're working on an AI system that handles the tenant calls. For some of you, it'd be after-hour tenant calls. For others, it'd just be all your tenant calls. If you're a property owner who works full-time as an employee somewhere else and has some investment properties that you're working on building out generational wealth with, you can't be at work and dealing with tenant calls, most of you. And when you're home, you don't want to deal with tenant calls. So working on an AI system that answers the call, finds out what the problem is, addresses the problem, explains to the tenant if it's a problem that the tenant caused, the tenant's going to be billed for it, and the tenant's going to have to pay. Then it can contact your maintenance people and connect them to the tenant and explain what the problem is. It also records all the conversations, and it gives you a text synopsis, a short overview of everything that the phone call was about. So you want to go on vacation for 2 weeks, you don't have to deal with it. You don't have to try to get somebody to cover for you or any of that kind of stuff. You've got your maintenance people set up. You're covered. You want to go to your kid's soccer game, baseball game, go visit some friends or relatives over a weekend, or just go spend a weekend at the beach or the mountains, or hiking or golfing or bowling or camping, or fill in the ers with whatever you prefer to do other than being home and messing with your rental investment properties. This AI chat bot system will handle it, and yet you won't be left out of the loop to know exactly what's going on. So we're working on building that out, and that's something I think if you do it right, you can actually get most, if not all of that covered in a small rental increase if you're in a place where you can increase your rents. So I really don't have anything else for updates or any of that at the moment. I will say I'm restructuring how the community is, so when you go in, you can look at the videos, and if I do it right over the next week to 10 days, they should be like in chronological order, but they're all dated, so you can go through and look at whatever ones you want. Don't know if I can put like a description of what's discussed in that video. I'm gonna work on that, and as we get further into the year, there may be a way I can make that happen. I'm still learning this part of the technology thing. I think to wrap it up, I did want to answer a couple of questions that I thought might pop up with people thinking, well, why would I want to listen to you? And how do I know you know what you know? Fair questions. I will tell you this and promise you this. Everything I share with you is not something I've learned in a book or heard in a seminar or got from somebody else. I started in this business in the 7th grade during the summer as a fill-in maintenance person in a 4-story high-rise 160 unit apartment complex. It had a subterranean parking and subterranean garbage collection chute. And I've been in this business actually over 40 years and covering 6 decades. So that's where I started. I worked my way up to running property management companies for investment groups, fix and flip aspects of the business, buy and hold, single family, multifamily, mobile home parks, commercial buildings, warehouses, storage facilities, housing and urban development, subsidized projects, rural development, Department of Agriculture, subsidized projects, farm home, migrant labor projects, and been trained by all the appropriate agencies to do that. Still HUD certified to manage their stuff. So it's not like I went and learned everything in some college course or in some book or sat through a bunch of webinars. I was actually the boots on the ground that did the work, that worked my way up in the business. Was blessed to have some great support, some great mentors, and some wonderful people. First book I wrote on property management, I guess that was a while ago. I think it's Your Best Practices for Rental Management Success. It's available on Amazon. And then I wrote another book that, where did I put that? I put it someplace. There you go, book. It's here somewhere, or it's not. But you know what? Maybe I'll put that away somewhere. Oh well, yeah, show you that one on the next video. I'll make sure I dig it out. So yeah, that's kind of about it for answers that question. I'm also a member of a lot of landlord associations and apartment associations that are not cheap to join, but I got lifetime membership through different employers. So I have those resources to reach out to, and that information I can share, and I do share. So it's not like my brain explodes with all kinds of information. I learn more stuff and I take more stuff and condense it down and share it with everybody as best I can. So thank you. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I believe the next Zoom meeting is the 22nd of March, 2025. So appreciate everybody watching. May God bless, and I'll see you when I see you.